The jury's out a little bit on whether or not we needed the Nations Championship, whether we needed these Tier 1 teams to be playing each other a billion times and deciding on a winner before we get into a World Cup, a year before a World Cup, whether we need that finale, all of this. And whilst there's also a lot of controversy around the likes of Uruguay and Georgia not getting more game time against Tier 1 nations and not getting the chance to stretch themselves, I think there are a few nations for whom this competition, the Nations Cup, the second division, is unquestionably a brilliant thing. I think Zimbabwe are one of them, but another is Hong Kong, China.
Yeah, getting exposure to teams that they could face in a World Cup when they inevitably reach the semi-finals. But no, on a genuine note, like World Cup quality teams, there is an argument, and I completely understand the argument, that it's kind of unfair expanding the World Cup and putting in nations like Hong Kong, China, who obviously take that second Asian spot after Japan have just dominated that part of the world in rugby for decades now. And it's kind of unfair to open that up so teams like Hong Kong have to play against the Wallabies and the All Blacks as they will be doing.
Yeah.
And now they're in a position where they're warming up for that rather than going straight into the deep end by playing teams like Manu Samoa, who are... Look, this isn't the best Manu Samoa team of all time. It's far from it. However, it is the legendary Manu Samoa.
Yeah.
You know, and they as a nation have always and will always produce like really great rugby athletes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the chance for Hong Kong, who don't have the same history,
Yeah.
to compete against those and teams like Samoa has been huge for them. And this game was proof of that.
What you need is, one, you don't want these teams getting overawed. You don't want them going, we've never seen this before. I use this example quite a lot, but Chile 4 years ago, in this exact spot, in the summer before they went to their first World Cup, they played Scotland A. And the players talked about how that was the most valuable experience because they'd never seen rugby played that fast. Because you don't get the opportunity, right? You climb up to the highest possible level in your nation, and then you play for your national team, and you play against the likes of the USA and Canada, and that's the highest level you're playing. And you need exposure to high levels to see what's possible and get used to seeing those pictures thrown at you, right? Like most of it, in terms of defending, like we're looking at a lot of players who are physically up for it, but what you need is to get used to that idea of double jobbing, right? Of seeing one guy coming at you, then moving out and drifting onto the second one. Or if you are a forward, getting used to how tight opposition maul and so on. And you need to get used to that. And these Manu Samoa players are broadly all playing professional rugby and all very used to that and well coached and well drilled at both national level and at their clubs. And Hong Kong, China have a good setup and they needed this opportunity. And even though you look at the scoreline, and a lot of people probably go, bloody, why are you talking about a 66-19 game between two Tier 2 nations? Because I think it's one of the most interesting games of the weekend and one of the most important. And we saw Hong Kong learn in real time. The first 15 minutes of this game were quite alarming.
It was a blowout.
Manu Samoa was so on top, and even though they only got one or two tries in that period, you were looking at the way in which Hong Kong, China were taking the ball into contact and getting stripped half the time, and they were struggling to keep hold of the ball at the breakdown, and they were falling off tackles. And whilst we saw a little bit of that happen as the game went on, and we saw them tire a little bit, you know, you look at like Marpu's try, which is not a try anyone should be conceding, but it's better concede it now than in a year's time at the World Cup.
That's it. They were 28-0 down after 20 minutes. Yeah. And I was thinking, this is getting ugly, this is going to get to 100. And the reason why this game is so important is because it didn't carry on that way.
Yeah.
That Hong Kong got to learn what playing at that intensity was like. They got half-time, where they could then kind of tactically figure out what's a way of slowing down this Samoa's team's way of scoring, and that is something they'll have to do next year when they play against the Wallabies and when they play against the All Blacks on the big stage. Like the Wallabies is the opening game of the World Cup, so they're going to have a lot of eyes on them. And look, like to be harsh for a moment, Hong Kong don't want that to be an embarrassment.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really important that they don't when they've got all those eyes on them. So this was a really crucial stepping stone because they conceded, 40 odd points in the first sort of 25, 30 minutes, of the game. And then from there out was the way that they stemmed that. And look, Samoa then picked up 2 tries in the final 5 minutes of the game, which is really frustrating because like that very nearly looked like a game when Hong Kong started scoring tries in between. One guy that you've just mentioned there, Jacopo Mapu, Stade Francais, maybe familiar to Northampton Saints fans as well, who was utterly outstanding for Samoa. He's kind of flown under the radar.
Ball carrier.
Yeah, in the last few years. But the fact that they've had Miracle Fatilangi,
he's starting to get the attention he's deserved. I think that Barbos did put him in a lot more people's radars, and he's just been brilliant for such a long time.
Yeah, and he's been Moana Pacifica's one of their star players.
And been captaining them a lot.
Yeah. So having that, and obviously the experience of having played alongside like Adi Xavier beforehand with that has clearly really helped him. And I think Miracle Fatilangi will rightfully take a few more headlines. Obviously he plays as an 8 as well, but sliding across to 6 so you can have a lump at 8 in Mapu is really great. And the little tip on he does to Peter Umanga Jensen here to set up a try as well. It's just absolutely glorious. And I really like it when a big ball carrying number 8 adds that extra dimension to their game. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I greatly enjoyed Peter Umanga Jensen as well in this game. He still has that kind of touch of subtlety about him, but there's perhaps something more direct as he gets older, and I'm enjoying that. I thought the Samoa team were very good. It's the old cliche, right? You can only beat what's in front of you. But they more than did that.
Yeah.
And they physically got on top early. And then once Hong Kong started to get back into this, and we'll talk more about Hong Kong as we go on, but like they started to problem solve live.
Yeah.
And they started to work out, okay, this team's learning, they're evolving, they're getting into more of a game, right? And then they found ways, and that was, frankly, being more direct. And that was, there's less space open now because their defence is getting smarter as they go. And I sometimes wonder what happened here, right? Because like you have meetings under the posts and you have, half time, but like you could see the team just going individually, right, okay, I made that mistake, I won't make that again.
Yeah.
For Hong Kong. And Samoa then had to adapt to that and they managed to keep the pressure on.
You consider what kind of tries Samoa was scoring early on. Like that Aki Siuli try felt a bit soft for Hong Kong. The first Warren Solomona try, don't get me wrong, kid is lightning.
Yeah, here's a guy who I don't think anyone watching had ever seen play before.
Yeah.
He's been playing, he's been playing sevens.
He's a sevens specialist, yeah.
So he's been playing sevens, but he lives locally on Samoa. He'd only ever played like local rugby. He'd never had a chance at anything like this or any professional level before this in 15s. And suddenly he's doing that.
They took a gamble on him.
Lightning.
Took a real gamble on him.
Yeah.
But that first try scores where they're just falling off tackles on him.
Yeah.
And like as I say, the kid's clearly a really great athlete. But you'd be disappointed by that. And by the end, they were scoring tries. Like it's that old cliche of like nothing comes through the middle of us lads.
Yeah.
They were scoring tries by manipulating the Hong Kong defence.
If Warren Solomona doesn't have an agent, get one because there will be calls coming in now.
Yeah.
I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And he's someone I'm really excited about the thought of seeing at the World Cup.
Shown he's worth gambling on.
Yes. And goes on to prove, right, that there are these players everywhere.
Yeah.
That it's not just kids coming through the academies, and Samoa don't need to be totally reliant on the guys from New Zealand with heritage.
Yeah.
Like, they have these kids everywhere. They are all over the world, and I bet you'd find kids like that if you went down to the kind of, like, top amateur divisions.
Sure.
And frankly, possibly even below that in terms of raw ability. All over the world, like everywhere around the world. And it's really cool to see one of them suddenly get this chance and get to take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ben Neely, strong game. Enjoyed him. Big ball carrier. Had one of those games where like he's been a guy who's like picked up a decent number of caps now. He's 33. He's been around a long time. He's been playing in Japan. But had a game where I was like, I don't know. Obviously, it's Hong Kong, but like you're like, oh okay, you sort of added more to his game. Kept building. Joel Lamb at 9, nephew of Pat.
Yeah.
Also kept tempo well, I think, for another youngster. Another guy who like perhaps hasn't had the most... Has obviously been playing more on Pacifica, but this was just his 4th cap.
Speaking of scrum halves and a little bit nepotism.
Yeah.
So a guy that we've not talked about on the channel before, Connor Tupai, came off the bench, who is Paul Tupai's son, which I actually didn't realise until Rupert Cox put it out on commentary. And can I just say... utter woke nonsense that Paul Tupai's son is a scrum half. That should never be the case. And also, like, the fact that Paul Tupai's retired, that's woke nonsense. He should come back and play for Samoa next week. Like, he's only like 50-odd, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. That's when he can play on.
He only retired like 5 years ago.
Look.
So him and Aleki Lutui have the exact same story of like their kids coming through like a couple of years after they've retired in their late 40s.
Can we get Paul and Connor Tupai and Michael and Nico Jones together.
Yeah,
in one
sure.
Samoa team. Because I think Michael Jones could probably still do a job. He'd probably still be at least as good as his son.
Yeah, it's a good point. World Rugby never addressed what the ramifications are for if you played for two different nations back in the day before they outlawed it. What can you do now if you came out for retirement
The
20
Marcus
years,
ramifications.
30 years later? Very nice.
It's relevant.
Relevant.
So, to pick up on Hong Kong a little bit,
Yeah.
right? As we said, critical game for them. And I think you see that in, more than anything, the path of Samoa's tries, right? So, Samoa scored a try in the first minute. To go through the timestamps of their tries, right? Minute 1, minute 7, 16, 30, 19, right? So, like, it was relentless for 20 minutes. And then there was a little lull, 35 minutes, Hong Kong getting half-time, and Samoa don't score another point until 60 minutes.
Yeah.
There's then 20 minutes, there's 25 minutes of unanswered points, or really, there's kind of from like 20 minutes to 60 minutes, which is a half. Samoa only scored one try.
Yeah.
And that becomes incredibly respectable. And obviously then, when it rains, it pours. They get 2 tries in quick succession, then they get another 2 right at the end of the game in the last 3 or 4 minutes. But it just went to show the ways in which Hong Kong managed to pick up their game and improve from there.
So a few highlights from Hong Kong and people who played well for them. Tyler McNutt, I really liked
I thought that whole back row was excellent.
Yeah, McNutt running the line
West.
out, but also defensively, I thought was like his work rate was really good. Yeah,
he gets about.
Yeah,
likewise, James Sawyer at number 8. I thought like absolutely did the job asked of him.
Yeah,
great.
Both wingers super impressive to me. So Sayers on the left wing took his try superbly, but worked so unbelievably hard.
Yeah,
like you're just hearing so much of him all game. And a guy who I'm really like, I forgot that he was playing for Hong Kong, that he was even qualified, was Marcus Ramage.
Yeah,
who has been a really good player at championship level, spent a lot of years at Nottingham RFC. I think he played under 20s, under 18s for England back in the day, which is kind of where I remember first hearing him, was like he was
3
a young...
or 4 games for Leicester Tigers along the way.
That he was really promising coming up, and then it's just one of those, like, he picks up an injury, things fall through, like, it just doesn't quite happen for him.
But has been a great sort of central winger for Nottingham for years.
And has been brilliant.
Has now gone over to focus on playing for Hong Kong. Yeah. He's now part of their full-time setup.
And wants full-time to focus on the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those players who, at this level, he just looks so up for it. He looks like so ready for this. And it's defensively, he looks great. Because there was a few times that Samoa would try and pick on him because they've got speedsters out wide. And he knows when to blitz. He knows when to just like trust his inside men. So I was so impressed with Ramage. Also scored a try, running a really lovely line here on the arc and took this brilliantly.
He's the sort of player who is absolutely invaluable for a Tier 2 nation. They're really reliable for club teams. You need like 1 or 2 of them in your squad that you can always bring in, and rely on in case there's a couple of injuries. And you need these Tier 2 nations like really benefit from having wingers who are really defensively sound.
Yeah.
Because it is where bigger teams look to exploit you, is out wide, and in those channels they look to throw, as I was saying earlier, like lots of pictures at you, force you to make triple job decisions and try and outdo you for pace.
Yeah.
And Ramage being there in either, he's played 13 for them in the past and may move in there in the future. But being either able to make those decisions from the wing or from 13 is really important for them. But I do want to talk about number 13.
I was going to say, they've got some options at 13.
Yeah. Max Frelkeld, who, this was his first cap. He's 21 years old. He is Australian by birth, but has been playing his rugby in college in the USA and has been, by all accounts, tearing it up. I think he's eligible for the MLR draft next season, which would be exciting.
I hope that the Legion give up some like sports therapy clinic to sign him, because you can do that in the
bring him
MLR
in.
draft.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works. But I thought he was outstanding. He's a proper threat. He's defensively sound. You can see he took to this level very, very easily and felt like maybe it took him 20 minutes to acclimatise.
But he was just like, bring it on.
But was like, from there on out, was just like, cool, okay, I've got it. I remember Nick Tompkins talking about this when he won his first cap, right? That the first 5 minutes he was really overawed. And then he had, because he came on for like a blood sub, then came back on later. And he went back after the 5 minutes, had a sit down and kind of went, no, okay, I can manage that level, I can do that. And then was much better when he then came back on. And then that was it for Nick Tompkins' international career. He never played for Wales again.
No, he did pop up and score a try against Australia in 2023
that was pretty
World Cup.
good.
Yeah, in his second cap. Yeah.
But the point being that sometimes you just need a moment to kind of maybe it was under the sticks, you kind of stop and go like, no, actually, like I can do this.
Yeah.
And build from there. So I thought he was excellent.
Last couple. So look, we're big Matt Worley fans on here.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a quieter game, came off the bench here. I quite like that they did that.
Yeah.
They kind of rotated a little bit.
Build them a bit. You've got 3 games back to back as well.
Yeah, but also from the Bristol Bears Academy, Isaac Campbell-Wu coming off the bench. It was really, really good. He's got 1 appearance for Bristol. He played for them in the Prem Cup, I want to say, season before last. So that's all the exposure he has to top level rugby. But seems to have like a good touch on the ball. So young lad coming through. I think he's 21 now. So excited to see if he is something.
I also really hope Bristol don't put pressure on him. I'm really glad they haven't put pressure on him to not play for Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Because we've seen a bunch of that this is why I think everyone needs to implement a GIF style system where you will remain English qualified if
you came through that academy.
Yeah, if you came through the academy or you were born in England or whatever it is, you remain English qualified for the Prem's purposes right through your entire career.
Yeah.
Even if you go off and play for, be it Hong Kong, be it Wales or Scotland, be it whoever, I just think it's good for kind of the global growth of the game.
Yeah.
And France have done a blinder on that, of managing to manage both sides of that.
Because up to the quality of their league.
Yeah, exactly. Isaac Campbell-Wu is like a good example of player who has managed to take that chance or has taken it anyway.
Yeah.
Good for him. And I'm excited to see where he goes next.
So, Hong Kong, this is just the start for them. This is one of their first games. I guess you could say it's the first game against an opposition of this quality, other than the occasional fixture against Japan every now and then. This is the start of them building towards a World Cup. And yeah, they will have 5-6 games in order to do this.
If they can start the next game without that 20-minute blitz at the start, then that is huge.
Yeah.
Then you bring that scoreline down to 45-19, and that is really respectable for a team that is just getting used to the standard.
I'm such a Hong Kong fan now.
Yeah.
So this was the most important game of the weekend.
We need shirts.
Yes.
We need Hong Kong shirts.
Yes. Someone sort this
out. If anyone knows how or where to get Hong Kong shirts, please let us know. And or please send them to Hong Kong shirts. I'd like it. Thank you very